This is my 2025 best laptops for 3D modeling, and year over year, this has been the most popular video on my channel. I dive deep going into all the different laptops that I would personally buy with my own money, as well as explaining the specs, so you know for yourself that you're making a quality decision. It's not just what I am recommending. Now, there'll be links in the description below to check the live pricing, or of course, if you do want to make a purchase, and you do through those links, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. Now, we're going to talk about RAM, GPU, CPU, color accuracy, and color gamut range. We're even going to cover the intricacies on why laptops get more expensive as we go through the different models that I'm talking about here in this video. And I have slides of all these different models, and we're going to start at the budget friendly and go all the way up to the expensive ones. And we're going to talk about the benefits of doing so. So definitely hang on tight. You don't want to miss this video. You want to hang on for all the information. And as I said, these are laptops that I would buy with my own money. So you know that you're getting quality recommendations. And like I also mentioned, I've been making this video for more than 5 years, and year over year, it gets tons of comments saying that it is people's absolute favorite video, and it was the video that helped them finally make the decision to pick the right laptop for their needs. So let's dive on in. First and foremost, with the opening price, the opening bid of $799 from the HP Victus AMD Advantage. Ben, are you kidding me? Your entry-level laptop is $799. Are you so privileged? No, I'm just very honest that this is the laptop that I would buy with my own money. I do not want it to bottleneck. I do not want it to frustrate me. I want it to work smoothly and actually do the work that I'm expecting it to perform. Now, if this price is too expensive, I completely respect that, okay? Just get that out there. Everybody's budgets are different. So what I would do is I would look for a laptop that is a couple of years older. I would look for a laptop that has, say, an RTX 3070, or even an RTX 4060 from a year or so ago now that 50 series has come out. And I would go ahead and make sure that laptop has about 16 gigs of RAM. Perhaps you hit the used market, perhaps you just find a laptop that's on sale but still new, and you go and you find a couple-year-old version. Now, I'm going to talk about the value of buying a new laptop versus the value of buying an older laptop as we go through this video, because as 50 series is launched, I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert, I don't think 50 series is that much better than 40 series, but we're going to talk about the actual things just in a moment as we work through more of these videos, more of these laptops. For now, I want to keep you posted on which ones are available. Okay, so we have the HP Victus AMD Advantage. It has the Ryzen 5 7535HS, which is a solid chipset, and then we have the Radeon RX 6550M with 8 gigs of RAM. Now, I personally think that 8 gigs of RAM is not quite enough, but the reason I listed this laptop is because this HP Victus is upgradable. So you could go ahead, buy this laptop if you're on a budget, and then upgrade it to 32 gigs as your budget allows. Now, another really awesome thing about these first two laptops, the HP Victus AMD Advantage and the Asus TUF A16, which is also available in an AMD Advantage, is that these are the best bang for buck SolidWorks laptops that money can buy. The really cool thing about SolidWorks and Radeon GPUs is that if you want to use SolidWorks, you either need to get A-series RTX workstation GPU, like the A2000, A3000, A4500, A4000, A5000, etc. But those laptops usually cost anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000, and those will work very well in SolidWorks. But this really crazy thing has been happening for the past couple of years, where Radeon GPUs perform nearly on par with the workstation GPUs from NVIDIA inside of SolidWorks. And so if you're looking for a bang for buck SolidWorks laptops, these are the two that I would look towards. And of course, we'll show some ones. That's where my favorite laptop, the G14, comes into play from a couple of years ago when I had the RX 6700S. That was just like the de facto best bang for buck laptop for SolidWorks. If you can still find it, it'd still be a great buy to this day. Okay, let's keep moving forward here, though. As you can see, the TUF A16 comes with 16 or 32 gigs of RAM. And so that would be where you'd be getting into that sweet spot of, say, 16 or 32 gigs of RAM for 3D modeling. Now, a lot of people ask me, Ben, do I need a dedicated GPU for 3D modeling? You 100% need a dedicated GPU for 3D modeling up until 2025. Two new laptops released in 2025 that have officially proven me wrong. And I will introduce those two laptops later in this video. So definitely hang on for the rest of this video so you don't miss out on those details. Next up is the Lenovo Lock, the Ryzen 7 version, or it has an i7 13650HX version. And we also come in the RTX 4060 or the RTX 5060, depending on your budget. So about $99 up to $1,300. And of course, these two both come in 16 gigs of RAM, but it is upgradable. So that would be a good option for you as well. Now, what you're seeing right now in these first slide are all plastic laptops. So this is where, the budget-friendly laptops start. You get budget-friendly materials. Obviously, you're still going to have good build quality. Like I said, these are systems that I would buy with my own money. So don't be nervous that you're like going to buy something that's terrible quality that Ben technically wouldn't recommend. I would absolutely buy any of these laptops with my own money. But they are going to still be plastics. That's one of the big things that stands out here. So the MSI Cyborg is a great 14-inch laptop with excellent performance, and you can often find them on sale for $899 or $999, which is a great price point, especially if you're looking for last year's model, because they didn't upgrade to the RTX 50 series on this one, and that, to me, that's not a big concern. So the MSI Cyborg is going to be a great buy for a lot of people. Now, next to the MSI Katana 15, which comes with the latest Ryzen 9 8945HS, but you get the RTX 4070, $1,499, 16 gigs of RAM. I think that's a great buy for an RTX 4070. It hits that sweet spot where you see RTX 4070s priced between like $1,300 and $1,500 to $1,600. And then now you're seeing, like, for instance, the Legion Pro 5 with the latest RTX 5060 is priced at about $1,650. Personally, I would go for the 4070 over the 5060 for a little bit less money, and you'll get a little bit more performance. So that gets us a little bit into that narrative of would I choose 50 series or 40 series. So while we're jamming on it, let's just talk about it. What I'm seeing in 50 series is only a 7 to 15% bump in performance. It's very nominal. There are a few fringe cases where I do see 20+% performance increases, but that's for like the top tier 5090 series. For the average 4070 to 5070 or 4060 to 5060, the performance increases are nominal. They've shown more increases in capabilities of the software. And so this is where my mind is going with all of this. Okay, so for right now, you're not going to really benefit by going for 50 series, but possibly in a couple of years as more software updates are introduced, because these new 50 series have been equipped to take on new softwares and new capabilities in like the AI space and in like the ray tracing and all the fancy terms that they throw into GPUs. But in a nutshell, this is where we define the difference between performance you need and performance that's available. And so for me, most people need a 4070 to a 4080 in performance. As we sit today while recording this video, next year's video, it might be a different story. But for this year's video, I think that most people would be very good at a 4070 or 4080. Now, and if you're on a budget, a 4060. So that's where my mind sits with this whole conversation, and I hope that's been helpful. Okay, next thing we're looking at, of course, is the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 14-inch. Yes, this is still on my laptop lineup because it is still one of my favorite laptops that has come out in the past 2 or 3 years. And the funniest thing about this laptop is it hasn't even been released since 2023. 2024 didn't provide a refresh. 2025 didn't provide a refresh, but I still think this is one of the best laptops that you can buy. It's a slim 14-inch form factor with 105 watts of maximum graphics power on the RTX 4060, 16 gigs of integrated RAM, which is a partial killjoy because 32 would have made this just the best laptop ever made. And then, of course, you have an SD card reader, which is really great for getting photos in. I think it's just absolutely awesome. Aluminum top cover, light, powerful, solid battery life. It's just, again, one of the best laptops. And you can still find them open box, which is, again, why I brought it out on this video, because I'm like, they're still kind of available, and it's still one of my favorite laptops. And so I can't ignore the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 14-inch model. Now, the next thing on the lineup would be the Lenovo Legion Pro 5, which I mentioned just a moment ago for $1,659. You have the Ryzen 9 8945HX and the RTX 5060, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. Which leads me to another point in our conversation, which of course is the random access memory. As you can see, a lot of these devices are sitting around 16 gigs of RAM. Why is RAM important? If you don't know much about RAM, I'm going to give you a quick crash course. RAM is the temporary memory that your system uses to open and run applications, compared to the storage, which is where you store your files. So storage would be like something like an M.2 SSD. You got 1 terabyte of SSD storage in your device. It's where you store all your files, music, design projects, images, etc. The RAM is the working memory of your system that allows things to fire up, open an application like Spotify or Google Chrome, or even your operating system is running off your system's RAM, your system's memory. Never say RAM memory. People will laugh at you, as they've laughed at me, because I've said RAM memory in these videos in the past. And everybody says, ha ha ha, what an idiot. The RAM you're using for applications. Open up Google Chrome, it could use anywhere from 2 to 5 gigs of RAM, depending on how many tabs you have open. Open up a 3D modeling software, anywhere from 5 to 10, even up to 15 to 20 gigs of RAM, depending on how robust and how intense and how many layers you have in that project. And so that's why for me, 16 gigs of RAM is the base minimum that I recommend for 3D modeling laptops. If it were me and I was buying the laptop, I'd go for 32 if my budget allowed, or even 64 if my budget allowed. It just makes sure that you're not bottlenecking your system for something that is not usually the most expensive part of upgrading the laptop. Especially if you buy a laptop like a gaming laptop that is upgradable post-purchase, like something like the HP Omen Max or the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, etc. So make sure you do a little due diligence, check if your laptop's upgradable when you go to make a purchase. If it's not, get the most RAM that your budget can allow so you're not stuck in a pinch bottlenecking your device. Okay, the next thing to focus on, of course, is the color gamut range and color accuracy. I don't know how important this is to the average 3D modeling or architecture individual. For me, it's very important for video editing and photography because I want to know that what I'm working on is very color accurate. When it goes out to somebody else's device or screen, I don't look all orangey or purple or weird, right? So I want color accuracy on my device. Let's talk about the different ranges. So we have sRGB, Adobe RGB, DCI-P3. These are the kind of the 3 most common ranges. The color gamut range is the range of colors, the amount of colors that your screen is able to reproduce. sRGB is the smallest range, followed by almost the exact same size ranges of Adobe RGB and DCI-P3. However, they're slightly misaligned. You can see the chart I put up on the screen, and you can see that the ranges are just different. One's leaning more towards like the reds, or the other one's leaning more towards like the greens. Now, the color accuracy is the accuracy at which those colors are reproduced, that range of colors, and that's called delta E. So delta E is the accuracy at which the range is reproduced. Below 2 is good, below 1 is excellent. So if you have a delta E 2 screen or a delta E below 1, that gives you a relative understanding of how accurate those colors will be of the range that it can reproduce. Okay, before we dive too deep into all the technicalities, let's keep moving on with these laptops. Next, we have the MacBook Pro 14 and 16, M4 Pro and M4 Max. Now, these laptops are great if you have native macOS software that you're running for 3D modeling. The challenge is that still, to this day, most of the mainstream 3D modeling softwares are going to be Windows x86. There are some that have made it onto Mac OS, but it is much less common. So do your due diligence. If you have 3D modeling softwares that you know you're going to be using and they are Mac OS, then great, go for a Mac. If you're a Mac fanboy or fangirl and that is the device you want. But recently, even in 2024, last year, my dad works for a company. They do a lot of 3D modeling and 3D renders, their team for mockups. And a bunch of guys went out and got brand new MacBook Pros, and they were all excited. And then they went to go and use them, and they just couldn't use them because the software didn't exist. And I just thought it was so crazy that like in a commercial setting, like these professional designers, that they didn't realize they couldn't use the software that they were buying the laptop. And it just, they had to literally, the entire company had to switch back over to Windows because of this software that needed to be read and this new software they were using, but it didn't work on Mac, and it was like a big dumpster fire. But yeah, just be aware of the software you're using because that will determine which device you should get to get optimal performance. Now, technically you could run it through Parallels or get an emulation, but it's going to run at much lower performance because it's running through the emulation than it's running the software. So keep that in mind. Now, quick crash course, basically an emulation or Parallels allows you to either A, with an emulation, take a software that's running x86 and then push it through to Mac, which isn't as common unless the company or the software has created that pathway, or you run something like a Mac product in Parallels, which means it boots up as a Windows device and then you can run the software, but still it's not going to be optimized and gets you the best performance. Okay, the next thing we have is the Lenovo Legion 7i. This isn't the Pro, this is just the 7i. It's gonna be a little bit thinner. Basically what we have here, the Lenovo 7i replaced the Lenovo Legion Slim 7i. So we used to have the Lenovo Legion Slim 7i and the Lenovo Legion 7i and the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. They've basically eliminated the Slim, made the 7i the Slim form factor, and then just have the Pro. So now it's the regular and the Pro. So that helps kind of clear that up. So if you want a little bit slimmer form factor, go for the 7i. If you want a bit thicker form factor with more performance, go for the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. Both will have great performance. The Pro 7i is going to be the top tier that you definitely want if you want full bore performance. That'd be my recommendation. Next up is the Asus ProArt P16. Oh my word, there's so much to say on this device. But in a nutshell, a lot of people ask me, what do I think of the dial? I don't think the dial is the most useful part of the ProArt. I think it's not its top selling point. To me, the top selling point for the ProArt is a thin and light device, great battery life, and great performance. Get the 64 gig model. I think you're going to be happiest with that. It has a 4K pen compatible OLED display. And that is the really niche element about that device. There's no other 4K pen compatible display on the market as of the filming of this video. Somebody wants to comment me later, post one below when it does come out, let me know. But at the recording of this video, there is not one available. And so that's the big selling point. So punch for punch, I'd buy that for the really high quality screen that's pen compatible and great performance and solid build quality. I mean, that is like the just sleek design laptop of the Windows world if you're looking for a creator laptop that's beautiful. Okay, next up on the lineup is going to be the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i. This is Lenovo's flagship creator laptop. It's not going to be the top performing laptop that comes out of Lenovo's lineup. Again, look towards the Lenovo Legion Pro 5i or the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i because this laptop features 100 watts of maximum graphics power. Here's another little lesson on PC performance to help make the best decision possible. This information is not always findable, but if you do your digging, you should be able to find it on whatever laptop you're considering. So it's usually listed as TGP, total graphics power, or maximum graphics power. So what that means is the maximum amount of wattage that the system will allow to make it to the GPU, whether plugged in to the charger or unplugged. Usually it's plugged into the charger, max plugged into the charger. And so, for instance, the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i has a 100 watt maximum graphics power, compared to, say, something like the Lenovo Legion Pro 5i, which has 135 watts maximum graphics power, and then the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, which has 175 watts of maximum graphics power. So you could put the same RTX 4060 in each device, and you're going to have the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i, Pro 5i, Pro 7i, right? Because the maximum power that is able to be pushed into that gives that device more performance. So when it comes to the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i, you're looking for great build quality, aluminum build quality. You're looking for a nice color accurate mini LED display, thin form factor, pretty solid battery life, and just more of a professional looking laptop. That's the sweet spot for the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i. Now, next up is going to be, and also I'm going to point out that is not upgradable post-purchase for the RAM. So whatever you purchase it with is the RAM you're staying with. So I definitely recommend getting it with 32 gigs of RAM. Next up is the Asus Republic of Gamers Strix G16. So we have a $1,099 version, that is the 8945HX, versus the $2,499 version, which is the 9955HX 3D. Both come with the RTX 5070 Ti. Both are great models. However, you're going to get that top tier HX 3D out of the more expensive device, and I think it would be worth it. You're going to really future-proof yourself, and that thing packs a massive punch. However, I don't find that you'll be disappointed by the 8945HX. That is a killer CPU, so both will be great options. But if you just want to really just edge out the performance, get a little bit better multitasking, and even a little bit better single-core performance, you should definitely consider the 9955HX. So it depends on what your budget allows. All right, next thing we're going to be looking at is the HP Owen Transcend 14. This is the latest model, and this is a little note on the tariffs discussion. As you can see, this model is $2,039. The previous model was $1,099 for the RTX 4070 and the Intel Core Ultra 9 185H. Now we have the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H and the RTX 5070. Same amount of RAM, 32 gigs of RAM, same amount of storage, 1 terabyte of SSD, but it went up $39. So for all of you freaking out about the tariff situation, it has affected many other things in our lives, which I fully recognize. But as far as tech prices, you've only got a $40 increase in price, which I know you could have gone out to Olive Garden or, Zaxby's and gotten, great dinner. But it's not as traumatic as I was even nervous about. I was like, are these prices going to go up like crazy? Who knows? We'll see. Okay, remember, links are in the description below if you're looking to make a purchase. Or if you want to check the live pricing in the devices. And of course, if you use those links, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So I'm so grateful when you guys use those links. Okay, the Alienware Aurora 16X. $2,099 for the latest Intel Core Ultra 9 285HX in an RTX 5070. 32 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of SSD. I would consider this more of a premium priced laptop. It is a Dell, and so they tend to have more of a premium price tag. If you were going to be looking at this laptop and say a Lenovo Legion, it would probably be around the $1,800 price point. So you're paying a little bit extra for that, Dell premium device tax, so to speak. But it is a killer device. I tested out 2 Alienwares last year, and I loved them as far as the design was concerned over the Lenovo Legion. However, the Lenovo Legions perform better. So it depends on what you're looking for. Next up is the Asus Republic Gamer Zephyrus G16. This comes with the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H and the RTX 5070 Ti and 32 gigs of RAM. There's a few different prices on this one. You can get a standard 5070, 5070 Ti, 5080. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But these laptops year over year have been great performers. Absolutely stellar. I love how thin and light they are. If you just look at that, this is a gaming laptop. It's absolutely insane at how thin and light these things are. So definitely one of the best devices that you can consider for your money. And then of course after that, we have the Asus Republic of Gamer Zephyrus G14, right? 14-inch version. Instead of having a full-size SD card reader, we have the very stupid micro SD card reader. Because who wants one of these micro SD card readers? Nobody, so they just put them on here to, I guess, get rid of them because they have a big stockpile of them somewhere. I'm totally kidding. Somebody finds them useful. I've thought about the idea of hey, you can add extra storage really quickly, slide it in. And everybody's always like, yeah, that's kind of a good idea. I'm like, oh, it's kind of a good idea. Just trying to figure out how to make that thing work. But I have a DJI Osmo, so I'm going to have to bring a, dongle maybe. That would be nice. But otherwise, I find the full-size SD card reader much more valuable. But this is definitely one of the best laptops from a 14-inch category that money can buy. Now, if I were to say, if they refreshed the Legion, I'd go for the Legion because that's got just such a soft spot in my heart. But the G14 is an incredible laptop that year over year has been an incredible performer. Okay, next up is the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. And that is the 175 watts of maximum graphics power. It is a hefty price tag at almost $2,700, but has the latest Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX and RTX 5080 and 32 gigs of RAM. So if you're looking for just killer performance, there are a few laptops at that price point that are going to blow that out of the water. And I love the build quality on them. They're such great devices. Year over year, I've been a big fan of the Legion lineup. Now, you asked earlier, well, you didn't ask, but I asked for you. Can you have a laptop, can you have a 3D modeling laptop that is not containing a dedicated GPU? And now, for the first time ever in the history of this channel, I give to you the Asus Republic of Gamer Strix. Nope. The Asus Republic of Gamer Flow Z13. You can tell this video is recorded without any edits because that's how I wanted to do it. Make it more of a conversation with you guys. This is the latest Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 with the Radeon 8060S integrated graphics. This is on par with an RTX 4060 running at 105 watts of maximum graphics power, or an RTX 4070 running from anywhere from, say, 70 watts of maximum graphics power to 85 watts of maximum graphics power. And it is astonishing how powerful this laptop is. This is on par, just to tell you how crazy this is, to $7,000 HP ZBook Fury workstations. So usually the ZBook Fury can score anywhere from like 155 to 180 or 179 on SolidWorks benchmark. This laptop can score in the 155s to 160 on the SolidWorks benchmark. And it's not a dedicated GPU, it's integrated graphics. The big problem I have with this laptop is that it's basically a tablet, and that drives me crazy. I do not like tablet form factor for my main workstation, which then leads me to my favorite laptop from 2025, favorite laptop that does not contain a dedicated GPU that is a Windows device, the HP ZBook Ultra G1A. The same Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 chipset, but in a clamshell all aluminum device with upward facing speakers, a manual click trackpad, and a beautiful display. Now, this laptop is not upgradable to more RAM post-purchase. So if you want to upgrade this laptop, you have to do it while you're purchasing it from the manufacturer or from the retailer. So for instance, if you buy it from Best Buy or Walmart or HP directly, again, links will be in the description below. Make sure you're choosing it with the right configuration. Now, the really crazy thing about this laptop is that you can allocate RAM from the system to become VRAM in the integrated graphics. And what I found while doing my benchmarking is that, well, actually, let me take that back. You can do that on the ROG. You can't do that RAM allocation on the HP ZBook. At least I haven't found out a program to do it. But then within the standard HP like command center that it comes with the device, you can't do it. You can do it in the Asus Armory Crate Center. You can allocate the RAM. But what I found is 64 gigs of RAM is really the sweet spot for this device. You can allocate, say 32 gigs of VRAM and then 32 gigs of RAM for your system, and it runs really smooth. Now, 128 gigs, if your budget allows, why not go for it? But if you're like really nervous, you're like, dang, should I have gotten the 128? It's really good, but it's not, the 64 gigs is not a deal breaker. So if you need to save a little money, I understand that the 64 gigs is a great option for you. So just putting all that out there. Again, the laptop I would purchase in 2025 for my unique use cases and needs being on the go would probably be this ZBook Ultra G1A. Absolutely incredible device. Now, the next lineup that I want to walk you guys through is, of course, the high-end workstations and SolidWorks devices. Now, as you can see, these are the ones that are going to, except for the first one, the MSI Titan, which is here on my desk. The MSI Titan comes with an RTX 5080 or 5090, which is why it's in the high-end workstation category. You got pricing from about $3,600 up to about $6,000 plus dollars, and so it definitely made it in the high-end range. 4 M.2 slots, you can get it up to 128 gigs of RAM, a massive 18-inch mini LED matte display, 4K. Just an incredible device. Thunderbolt 5 ports, dual Thunderbolt 5 ports. I'm really liking it for my main system here in the studio. And you can get, of course, an Intel Core Ultra 9 285HX. Forgive the typo, it says HH. And then the Ryzen 9 9955HX as well. So you got some options there. But next on the lineup is the Lenovo ThinkPad P series. And this laptop, hand over foot, I consider to be one of the just best all-around 3D modeling laptops. It really nails the build quality, the performance, the longevity. They just really shine. And you can get it in a variety of GPU configurations. So whether you're looking for, just a basic entry-level A1000 or you want to go all the way up to the A5000 because you're a serious 3D modeler, the options are galore. And like I said, I'll link the Lenovo link below so you can get the best one that suits your price point. But as far as I'm concerned, both the P16, the P16V, and the P1 are all fantastic options. And you can get them in both HX or Intel Core Ultra H series. Personally, if it were me, I would go for the Gen 2 with the i9-13950HX, and I would get at least a 4000 series or 5000 series on the GPU, and I would get 32 to 64 gigs of RAM, and that will put you back probably that high fours or mid $5,000, but it's going to be a laptop you can keep for 5+ years and still have great performance. Now, next would be the Dell Precision 5960. This is Intel Core Ultra 7 265H, and then the RTX 5000. Or you can step it up by a few $100s and go for the i7-13850HX in the 7680 Dell Precision. Personally, I'd go for the HX. You're going to get more performance, but you're going to get less battery life. So keep that in mind. That goes for all of these devices I've just talked about. The ThinkPad, the Dell Precision, and the two devices, both the ThinkPads and the Dell Precisions. If you're looking for a little bit more battery life, I would go for the latest Intel Core Ultra 7 165H. But if you're looking for more performance, I would go for the older 13th gen i9 13950HX. That'd be more performance. And then lastly, we're going into the ZBook G11, both the Studio and the Fury. And this goes for the same thing. If you want better battery life, go for the latest new Intel Core Ultra. But if you're looking for more performance, then you want to lean into the older i9. They might have some 14th gen, but I know for sure that the 13th gen are still in that configuration availability. What I find with these 3D modeling laptops is because they're more commercial and enterprise level, businesses are buying them, that they usually like skip a generation. So they'll go like 13th gen, or it went like 11th gen to 13th gen to Intel Core Ultra. That's how I see it happening a lot. So like they don't upgrade cycle as fast because businesses don't upgrade cycle as fast. So they kind of have some distance between them. But again, you can get these in RTX 2000, 3000, 4000, 4500, 5000, really whatever your budget allows. I always say get as much as you can for your budget. And that's really like, especially when it comes to 3D modeling, because these programs are very heavy. Like as you grow in your skills, you're going to need more performance along the way. Okay, the next thing that I've never done before in any of these videos is talk about storage. And I'm not sure what kind of storage needs you personally have, but I'm going to talk about what I like to use. So when I'm filming my videos, I film on Samsung drives. It just has been my workflow for a couple of years now. And so I film on T5s, T7s, and T9s. From there, I transfer to either Crucial X Pro 9s or X Pro 10s, or the Kingston XS 1000 or XS 2000. And so these are my highest recommended drives. I love these three brands. I think they all make great products. I have noticed that on the go, it makes more sense for the Kingstons, because if you look at the size difference here with the Kingston versus the Samsung, I can basically fit two Kingstons to a Samsung. And so like getting around, passing these off to my editor, it just makes more sense for these smaller drives. Now, these are definitely thinner, these Crucials, and you can see just about two drives as well, 2 to 1. So that's why the Crucial and the Kingston have been my go-to for like storage drives and editing drives. Now, as far as long-term storage, for the longest time I've used hard disk drives, except more recently I've lost 2 or 3 hard disk drives. They've crashed out and I've lost about 10 plus years of memories in the form of like photographs from college and even before that. So that was really disappointing. So more and more I'm encouraging people to get off of the hard disk drives, get onto the SSDs, the solid state drives, or put their information in the cloud. And I realized I was talking to this camera rather than that camera. And so for me, I'm pushing people to do SSDs. I'm pushing for myself to do SSDs. For a quick little note, if you don't know what the difference is, basically imagine a spinning disk with an eye that reads the information versus literally just like a block of memory, almost like an SD card, where the information is written to and read from. And over time, you can only read and write so many different times to that, where a disk has more ability to read and write, but they're less reliable because they have mechanical parts. So in a nutshell, SSDs are going to be far less likely to crap out. That'd be the solid state drives, but you have a limited number of read and writes on them. Now, if I'm wrong about that, comment below, but that's been my understanding all this time. So definitely keep me informed if I'm wrong and keep the whole community informed as a whole. Remember, links in the description below if you're ready to make a purchase, or click or tap the screen here for in-depth reviews of these different laptops if you want to dive deeper and figure out which one is absolutely right for your needs. And of course, if you do make a purchase, links below, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So I'm so grateful when y'all use those links. I'll see you in the next video.